how can we be gospel grounded, super rooted in our identity that we have in Jesus Christ, so that we are ready to go into our spheres of influence with the distinctness of Jesus, so that we are bringing light into the dark places and spaces that we inhabit. So I thought it would be a good idea to actually hear from two guys that are doing that very thing. And so we have here Ryan Rodacker and Dave Curzon, who I think we should give them a warm welcome. So I have known Ryan for a very long time. My relationship to Ryan began in Little League playing baseball, and he had the most nasty knuckleball, and he still does actually. If you want to learn how to throw a knuckleball, he can teach you. But what kid throws a knuckleball in Little League? But it was him. It was him. And we were on an all-star team together, and it was the first time, and probably the only time in my baseball career that I ever saw a knuckleball, actually. It was phenomenal. Just drops. I mean, just drops out of nowhere. Okay, so, and then Ryan and I, just grew to become best friends. He is one of my closest friends who I just love so much, and he's been such a tremendous influence on my life, and it's been amazing to see God transform him over time, and to be able to be in that journey together and experience growth together, right? So it's been really powerful. And then Dave, I was first introduced to Dave, really, I connected with Andy, his oldest brother. We were really good friends in high school, played basketball together, and he had a lot of impact on me. And then, of course, Jim and Brenda have just been rocks for our family. And then through them, I got to know Dave. And actually, I didn't say this the first service, but I remember you and I going to a concert together. I don't know if you may not remember, but it was so impactful for you and transformative. But we drove somewhere to see some band play. I think you were still in high school. I might have been just out of high school. But it was an amazing time for me, not obviously for him. But so we were hanging out even then. Dave doesn't remember. So they are living as what we would say Daniels. They are operating in the secular world, but they're doing it with the distinctness of Jesus. And I want to learn from them this morning. I want you to hear from them. Are they perfect? We know they're not, and they don't always get it right. But the trajectory of their life and the desire of their heart is to get it right for Jesus and to make impact. So let me ask you, all right, so let's do this. M&M's or Sour Patch Kids or something fruity like that for candy? What's your choice?
Mine is super, super easy. I am Sour Patch, fruity candy all the way. Anybody that knows me, anybody have me in class, the Skittles, Mike and Ike's, let's go.
Oh yeah. He does frequently show up to our life group with a whole box of lemon heads, just so you know. All right, Dave.
And doesn't share any of those.
No, he never offers.
Andy gets some.
Andy gets some? I haven't made it to that level.
I've been internally holding a grudge against him because every time he shows up and he doesn't offer to share.
So for me, it is fruity, chewy candy. If there's anything else, then, and if I didn't say this, my grandmother would turn over in her grave if I ever went away from fruity, chewy candies.
She was the candy queen out here in the Curzon family. Yeah. All right, so coffee or pop?
Coffee. No, not drink, pop, probably, yeah, very, very limited. Coffee.
All right, easy answer for you?
It depends on the context, so whether you're eating, but coffee probably would be my go-to, but you can't have a piece of pizza without some pop.
I agree.
Sorry, Rhode Island.
What is your pop of choice with pizza?
Probably Diet Coke.
Oh. Come on, Krause's Pizza and Pepsi, everybody knows that's the way to go. All right, so next question, Italian cuisine or Mexican cuisine?
I'm an Italian, lasagna, chicken parmesan, all that stuff, yep.
So if you know my dad, we never ate anything other than like some meat and potatoes
Right.
for a long time.
He did grow up like on a potato
Yeah,
farm, right?
yeah. So I don't think we ever had Mexican until I was about in my 20s.
You didn't know it existed.
But I'm making up for it now because we probably eat Mexican 2 or 3 times a week. So Mexican probably for us.
All right, very good, very good. All right, so a day alone to do whatever you want, or a day spent with your wife? I know, I'm just joking. Don't answer that question, or you could answer. I couldn't help myself, sorry. Okay.
We were just commenting before the service how much more difficult this is going to be that our wives are sitting in the audience.
That's right. You can't lie in this service. They'll call you out on your, all right. So, all right. Okay, so here we go. Tell us, so Ryan in our life group, he had us answer the question, why are we a Christian? Why are you a Christian? It was such a fantastic exercise for our life group. Ryan's doing a phenomenal job leading our life group, and I would encourage you to answer that question if you are a Christian. If you're not a Christian, why not? That maybe we can turn it, around that way, right? Why are you not a Christian? So, why are you a Christian, Ryan?
Yeah, I'm gonna cheat because I have it on my phone, just because I read it often. So I'm gonna read it to you now. It's not that long. But so why am I a follower of Christ? I'm a follower of Christ because I have experiential knowledge of God that cannot be explained otherwise than the workings of a sovereign, all-loving, all-just God. I love, admire, and want to follow a God who willingly came into this suffering world, lived a perfect life, was falsely accused of any wrongdoing, and willingly sacrificed himself for my sins, and gave me the free will to choose his wonderful grace, and is happy to be advocating on my behalf. I understand that prior to knowing Christ, I was broken, sinful, and unable to meet God's standards, but as I put my trust in him, I'm a new creation and a child of God, and as a child of God, I want to 100% trust my loving, perfect, gracious, all-knowing Father with my life.
Bada bing. Awesome. Dave?
Mine's not as polished as that. I didn't know we were allowed to bring notes. So actually, Shane stole my plug for life group. So Rodacker did have us do this in life group, and it was a phenomenal exercise. And actually, that meeting where we all sit around a fire and we had this discussion, that type of conversation is actually one of the reasons that I am a Christian. Because I get to I've seen too many times in my life God at work through other people. And to be able to sit around a fire with 8 dudes to have authentic conversation about why you're a Christian. I think Cochran was even crying.
Right.
It was, you can't have those conversations without there being a God, right? Without there being a God. So there's evidence seeing God working in other people. That would be number one. Evidence of God working in my life. There's too many examples for me to deny that there is a creator. And then evidence of creation. I don't think you can look at God's creation and not believe that there is something else there. So those 3 areas would definitely, there's too much evidence not to be a Christian.
Sure.
And I would encourage everyone to do that. I think it's super huge. I would encourage you to do it with someone else, keep each other accountable. And I think doing it when you're in a healthy spot is really, really good. Because with me, when I do go through trials or troubles or things that are struggling, if Shane knows my why and Dave knows my why, and now all of you know my why, you can keep me accountable and say, wait, even when things are tough, when you're in a good spot, this was your why. So that really shouldn't change based on scenarios. So I think it's super powerful for me. So
yeah, that's good. All right, so the question then, and this is where I went off script, but now it's kind of on script because you had a chance to answer this one. But another great question and a great exercise. So what do you want people to say about you at your funeral?
Yeah, so I struggled with this in the first time. I had some time to think, but basically what I think is, I want people to come. I said this about Shane, like if it happens tomorrow and I pass away tomorrow, like I want what Shane to say is true. Like I want it to be true. Like, and I want people to be there to think it's true. Like it would break my heart if someone came to my funeral and didn't realize I was a Christian. You know what I mean? And Shane joked earlier. He said, I don't want him to have to lie about me. You know what I mean? Like I want it to be really easy for him to do that funeral. And then the other piece is like, I want peace for my wife and for my kids. Like, I want them to feel at peace. Like, I want them to be like, yeah, Dad's in heaven. You know what I mean? And Dad, you know what I mean? Like, that's really what I want versus what I want people to say. Like, hopefully they say good things. Hopefully they say I was a Christian. Hopefully they say I try to help this world. But I want people when they come to be like, yeah, that's what he was. You know, that's.
Yeah, I think there was a T-shirt at one point. You know, live in such a way so your pastor doesn't have to lie at your funeral, something like that. So let's bring that T-shirt back. That's right. I kind of like it. Get on the cricket. Let's go. All right.
He has it.
Yes, wear that next Sunday, please.
All right, so for me, I will ditto what Ryan said, but to add to that, I think of the verse where Paul says, "Let it be said of me, well done, good and faithful servant." And that word servant means a lot to me, and so I hope at my funeral that people would be able to reflect in a variety of different ways and a variety of different settings that I was a servant, and not just because I felt like being a servant, but I was a servant because that's what Christ has done for us. That I was serving my family and my job and the people that are around me.
That's good. All right, so tell us about what you do. So what is your role? What is, and then I know there are no 2 days that are exactly the same, but give us a snapshot of generally some of the things that you are working on week in and week out.
All right, so I'm the Director of Student Services, Technology, and Testing at TUSLaw, okay? And so what that means is I'm kind of like the utility infielder. I do lots of different things. I don't know if I'm great at anything. But what that means, so technology, think of 1,500 students, over 150 staff members. So anything, projectors, technology, computers, all the networking, anything that has to do with technology, I handle, okay? And then the testing piece, so we give tests at the kindergarten level all the way up to graduation. So kindergarten readiness assessment, Howell graduation test, ACT, graduation test. I can rattle them all off, but I have to make sure all that stuff runs smoothly. And then the student services piece, I deal with certain things where each school district has to have a homeless liaison. And so if you have students who are attending your school and are homeless, obviously you want to set up scenarios for them to be successfully to get to school and different scenarios like that. And then with English learners, they're learning the language of English, so it may not be their first language, and so I set up different scenarios, whether what we can do to help them kind of get into the school district and be successful. I've worked tons of different jobs, so that helps. I've been a teacher, I've been a coach, I've been an elementary teacher, I've been a middle school teacher, I've been a high school assistant principal, been a curriculum director. I do have my bus driver's license.
That's right.
So if you do see me driving bus, do not be afraid, I am trained. Okay, it's interesting, the kids come on, they just come on, they're like, oh, hi, Mr. Road Doctor. There was one kid that were like, are you? And I'm like, yes, I'm good, it's technology, okay. But then the adults crack me up because they're like, wait a second. And I'm like, no, here's my CDL.
Yeah.
But anyways, a typical day for me is crazy. It doesn't ever, putting out fires. I come in with a certain plan and then something breaks and then I go fix it. That wasn't on my list. Random phone call. There really isn't. There really is no, I can't tell you what a similar day looks like. But it's, as you can imagine, think about 1,500 devices, taking care of them all at once and all the fun stuff that comes with that. So it's hard to imagine if you've never been in that role. So.
Yep.
I do not have my bus driver license. That's something I aspire. No, I do not.
It's on your bucket list.
That's right. So for me, similar. No job, no day is the same. But my role, I'm the building principal at a middle school, Innis Middle School, or we'll call it Innis Middle School for now. It is in Akron, so if you ever go 76 and then jog north on the Kenmore Lay, you can actually see it right over the highway there. It's a 6 through 8 building, grades 6 through 8. We have about 650 students, roughly 100 staff members. My day-to-day, so it kind of is broken down in a couple areas. So number one really is management. So just making sure that the building is operating. We got teachers where they need to be, students where they need to be, classrooms covered when the sub's not, or when a sub's there. All those kind of little things that just help the building run smoothly. Leadership is kind of that other bucket. So just making sure that we are establishing and operating in the culture that we want to be set. So myself and my leadership team, making sure little things are in place. We're doing and saying things so that the culture we want to establish with our students and staff is set and moving forward. Compliance is a big part of my day, so we have a lot of local and state oversight because of the population of families that we serve. So a lot of my day is making sure that we are in compliant with all those rules and regulations that we have to follow. And then I didn't say this first service, the other one that I forgot, I think I block it out sometimes, but as parents, I meet with probably between 3 and 10 different sets of parents each day. Most of them are not positive interactions, but they end up positive, so a lot of my day is that as well.
Yeah.
And real quick, something I forgot to say too, like, so Dave is at the building level, I'm at the district level, so my thought process and my job is to do whatever I can to have him do his job well. Okay, so if that helps you kind of understand what I do. So I don't want to bog him down with things with homeless or EL or tech, so he can do his job well, because he's at more of the front line. So if I do my job well, then he can do his job well.
We actually had a lady in our first service that went to Ennis Middle School. Yeah, how about that? Yeah. I'll hook you up with her so that she can, live the glory days of middle school and come back and visit. Yeah. Yeah, the glory days of middle school. Except Brian Rodecker does.
No, I don't.
All right. So so you're in a secular kind of workspace here, increasingly Christianity is not, maybe, I don't know how to put it, but maybe not as welcomed as it once was in the school districts. So how do you navigate that? How does Jesus, your relationship to him, impact how you lead and how you go about your job?
So for me, yeah, I do understand the church and state and the separation there, okay? And that's the way the law is written, so that's what I'm going to follow that, okay? But that doesn't mean I can't act the way that I want to act, right? That doesn't mean I can't be the way that I want to be as a follower of Christ in that role, okay? And I'm thankful that I am in a public school, and I feel like God wants me there, okay? But so, like, and it sounds really, like, kind of hard to explain, but how does the impact of Jesus impact, like, it's everything. Like, it really is. Like, I try to make it everything in what I do at home or at work, but having that faith in him and having that trust in him, helps me serve others, okay? So, like Colossians 3:23, work as if you're serving the Lord and not human masters. So when I try to work with the different staff members or work with the students or work with the board or the community or anything, like, I'm trying to serve them as if they were Jesus, okay? And if I do that, I have a hunch that they're going to be pleased, okay? But not most of the time they're not, okay? Because I'm the tech director, right? But if I know that I'm doing that for them, then I can feel good about the work that I've done, okay? But then also, my relationship with Christ is super important, whether it's making tough phone calls or tough scenarios. Like, I'm always praying usually beforehand, and that gives me some peace and afterwards, or even during sometimes. And so I couldn't imagine doing my job without that. It would be, it'd be way more stressful and more anxiety, and even learning the attributes of God. He knows the beginning and the end, and he's in control. And again, if I'm honoring him, even though if someone's not super happy with me or the scenario's not going great or it's challenging, like, I lose all the time in technology. Like, I lose. There'll be some days where I take some big L's, and I'll work on something for 8 hours, 10 hours, and still can't get it fixed. And so I got to trust that he's going to get it right. He's going to, give me the tools and things like that to make it right. So I think that's one of the perks in my jobs, that I lose so much. I'm getting used to it. Usually I get a W at the end of the day, but so that's been good.
Yeah. So I hear you talking about there's a stability. There's a stability, in your work.
Yeah, if it was just work and it was just based on the opinions of others and things like that, like, oh my goodness, you'd be on this crazy roller coaster, and I wouldn't be very healthy.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. So you said learning about the attributes of God has definitely helped you to get to a place where you can let go of the opinions of others. Because I think for any leader, most leaders that are, like, actually care about human beings, right? That's usually a challenge, right? And some of us are more wired to be people pleasers, so it can even be more of a challenge for that personality type. And what are some of the other things that have gotten you to a place where you can not be so dictated and controlled by people's opinions? You mentioned God's attributes. What else?
Yeah, so my job has really helped with that. One, because I do take so many L's. But in my role, it's extremely challenging to make. It's impossible to make everybody happy. Okay, and so I look at it from this point of view. I have 150 staff members. Who all generally probably have a platform or a computer or something that they would prefer using. So whether that's Apple or PC or a Chromebook or whatever the case may be. So 50% of them may be Apple people and 50% may be PC people. Okay, so I can't give them what they want. I have to make a decision and go with a certain platform that I think is best for everyone in the district. Okay. And so the thought process behind that is, and you guys can think about this, like if I gave every teacher every Chromebook, MacBook, PC, or anything they wanted, that budget would be out of control. Well, then that is not fair then to the taxpayers of Tuslaw, which are extremely important to me as well. I want to use every penny like it's our last, at the district. So that way, we really value, what our community does for us. Okay, so when I have all of those layers on top of each other, I have to make a decision that I think is right, and everybody is going to have an opinion on that and think it's potentially not right. No one's going to come up and say, man, thank you so much. Like somebody's going to have a struggle with that. So that has really helped me just to say, okay, this is what I think is wise. This is what I think our taxpayers would be pleased with. This is something that our teachers can operate with and do provide really good instruction with. And I'm going to provide the PD as much as I can to make sure they have the support they can. So if I do all those things, that sounds like I'm trying to serve the Lord instead of human masters, right? And so everybody's going to have an opinion about that and not necessarily be happy. So then I have to just make a decision and go and know that I have done the research, I have taken the time, I have done the work that would be pleasing to the Lord. And then at that point, just let it go. Because taking the time to explain that to every teacher or explain that to every community member, it would take forever. And you typically, once I do that, it makes sense. But I don't, unfortunately, have the time to do that with every single scenario. Like, why are we doing this? Do you really want to know? You know what I mean? And so, fortunately, I think I've built up enough trust with our staff and with our community that they know that that's my heart and that's what I want.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. So, Dave, so the question is, all right, how do you operate in your environment with the distinctness of Jesus? Like, how has your relationship to Him and the relationship to the gospel really impact you in that way?
Yeah, so obviously in a secular setting, they kind of frown on you opening up your staff meeting, sharing the gospel.
All right.
So in that setting, you can read a million different leadership books, but ultimately at the end of the day, the New Testament is all about leadership. How Jesus came to earth, and when He came to earth, He came as a servant leader. So I think as a Christian and in the workplace, as difficult as it is, it's actually very easy if you operate. And I try very hard to operate as a servant on a daily basis, not just serving my staff, serving my students, serving the community where my kids come from. So that's really just on a day-to-day basis. I try to do little things, whether that's pushing a trash can around a cafeteria, that makes sure that people understand that I'm there to serve them. And that's the way I really try to operate. And through that, my hope is that people can see Jesus living in and through me by the way that I operate and the things that I do on a day-to-day basis.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. So what is, we talk about how, Daniel, we even see Moses doing this. They assimilated into their culture, right? They didn't make a commune somewhere out in Montana, so they never had to interact with the world, right? They moved in and engaged with the world, and yet they didn't assimilate beyond what was God honoring, and in that way they remained distinct from the world around them. Where are you most tempted to over-assimilate in your context?
I'll jump in here. So I think Rucker and I were talking about this at breakfast. I'm going to steal a little bit of his thoughts, so hopefully you come with something different. But for me, and so in a leadership position, a large portion of our job is to evaluate others. So we're evaluating the work that they're doing, we're trying to hold them accountable and support them all at the same time. But whenever you are in a position where you're evaluating people, it's very easy to turn that into talking about people, talking down about people, and ultimately when you do that, you're just doing that to lift yourself up, right? So it's very, very easy to slip into that. So I think for me, that's always a challenge is, how do I look at a situation, look at the actual situation, not the person, and then, and eventually then start gossiping or talking about that person. Because it's easy, not just in education, but in any field, like that's such a rampant issue. It's easy to fall into that. That's always a struggle.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, you totally took everything I was going to say.
He really did.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. I think something else that can be interesting is I think it's important to be you. I think there'll be times where I'm in situations or in meetings and at times, Ryan's too positive. He's too positive. Like, we need to get an accurate view of what's going on. Like, Ryan's just too positive. But I'm not going to change who I am. I think, when I look at like Tesla, I think, there's no perfect organization, there's no perfect school district, but I think we have experts. I think they do really good things, and I'm really proud to be working with, aside all the great people that work there, and that's not going to change. Now, is everybody perfect? No, but I think sometimes it could be easy for me just to, I'm just going to be not like everybody else, but I'll just maybe be negative and but no, I'm going to be who I am. And, you don't like it, that's okay. Yeah. God's got me. God knows beginning and end. Yeah. So
absolutely, it's good. What are some of the habits that you guys engage in that are helping you to be in the world and not of it?
Dave answered this really well at the first one, so he's going to start us off with it.
Oh, I thought you were going to steal his answer.
He's way bigger than me.
Facts.
Now I'm trying to remember what I said. No. So 2 things for me. Number 1, I think, is community. We talked about that at the beginning. I'm really blessed to be in kind of 2 different life groups. One of those being with Shane and Ryan and a couple other guys. And it's really powerful to be in not only community with other people, but community with other people that are in similar settings, similar contexts. So there's quite a few people that are leaders of different organizations and different schools in our community, in our life group with the men. And it's just really powerful because I think naturally we kind of hold each other accountable. I hear some things that Ryan's doing, I hear some things what you're doing, I hear some things that Amy's doing, I think, man, I should be doing that. And hopefully they hear that from me as well. So that's number 1. That keeps me grounded, keeps me humble, and it keeps me moving forward when I'm around those other people. And because I truly think that we were designed to be in community. Also get to be part of. We just launched a new life group a couple weeks ago, and that's it's really encouraging to be around those people, and it's really again, that's how God designed us to be. So that would be one habit. Another habit is just doing little things to. Because it's easy. All of us are in different roles, and it's easy to get caught up in the jobs that we have and let that job kind of dictate your life. So I think we have to be intentional about making sure that we're doing little things to make sure that we're getting our mindset on the right things. So whether that's, I try really hard to make sure my commute in the morning and my commute home in the afternoon, I'm listening to worship music, I'm listening to a sermon, listening to some spiritual content to really get my mindset right, and then get my mindset right to go home to my family. So those 2 things really are something that help me.
Yeah.
I agree with all that. I think about, we got some younger, some of our teenagers and younger kids here, and even, 20s. Like, when I was that age, I thought you had to be really successful in your job, or in just general, I thought you had to be like this fantastic, super talented person. I am not super talented. I'm just not. I'm like a B- in a lot of things, maybe C+. Okay? But I would encourage our younger crew here, if you show up, you work hard, have a good attitude, and are kind to people, you're going to do lots of great things. And does any of that stuff sound hard? No. But people make it hard sometimes. Okay? And I would just like to encourage everyone, obviously, but you want to talk about some habits to get into, just be kind to people. And I know that sounds crazy, but Like I just remember when I was a teacher or a coach, like just being kind, just thinking about everybody has stuff going on in their lives. Everybody does. I talked about this earlier. Like, so the teacher who has their computer not working and they're calling me on the phone, they're probably already stressed, right? Because their computer's not working. They're trying to teach. They're trying to instruct kids, right? Like, and they may have other junk going on in their life that I don't even know about. Okay, so I come in there and now I'm mad too. Why'd you call me? Oh, you should have had your backup lesson plan. Like, that's not helping. It's not helping anything. So if I come in with a positive attitude, kind of like, man, I'm really sorry you're having this issue. I probably couldn't get there as quick as I wanted to. Like that then brings them down a little bit. Like, hey, appreciate everything you do. Like, I would just encourage you. Like, it's possible. Like, it is possible to be kind in the workplace or even in your school, and still be super talented, super strong, and super successful. Don't listen to the news where you have to be mean or you have to be this certain way to be a leader. It's not true. It's not. I've been around a ton of leaders, these two guys included. There's tons of other leaders that I would follow these guys anywhere, but that are kind and care about people. Okay, so that's the super secret is show up, work hard, be positive, be kind. You're going to do whatever field you go into. You're going to do some really, really good things. Now, next level, doctor, brain surgeon, you're going to need to have some specific skills there for sure. But even in that world, if you do those 4 things, you're going to separate yourself from everybody else because the other expert pilot or expert brain surgeon who's not kind, who wants to work with that person? Now, if someone's doing brain surgery on me, I guess they could be not kind and get it done right. But when you guys know what I'm saying. Like that lady or gentleman's still going to have an advantage because everybody around is going to like being around them. Okay, so I guess those other than his habits, I like those habits.
Yeah. Anytime you're leading, there's always this danger that, and sometimes it does happen, we don't get it right, that our family gets the leftovers. So, how are you doing with that?
Yeah, so what I try.
And we won't have your wives stand up and actually.
My wife just went in with our 2-year-old that, it doesn't take any time, right? No. But anyways, with me, I try to do things while they are sleeping. Like, that's what I try to do. So, my wife loves to sleep. There's no denial of that if you know her. So if she goes to sleep, then that's when I try to get some work done. Or when Monroe's sleeping, or what, you know what I mean? I try to do that. Now, do I then miss out on some sleep? Sure, but that's the price you want to pay if you want to be in administration and still be around your kids and things like that. I'm doing better now than I was probably 4 or 5, 10, whatever years ago. But sometimes that's lesson learned and things like that. But yeah, but utilizing when they're sleeping, doing things, that's been a big kind of eye opener for me.
Sure.
So the first service, you just asked us what we needed prayer for. You didn't ask us how we were doing. So my wife won't even make eye contact with me. So this is a struggle. This is a huge struggle that comes and goes in waves and seasons. For me, I think. Like Rodacker talked. To me, a lot of it is about, I talked about already, when I'm lucky to have a 30-minute commute. So doing some things to kind of flush away the day, get my mind right so I can walk into home and give them what they need. I think I try to practice that as much as possible. Am I successful at all the time? Probably not. And then the same thing, trying to make sure that I am focused on my family until they go to bed, and then try to have a little bit left for my wife, and then get a little bit of work done in the evenings here after they go to bed. But yeah, that's a challenge.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Yep. All right, last question here. How has your spouse made you a better leader?
That's an easy one for me.
Okay.
My spouse is amazing. She is so good. She hates when I talk about her. She don't talk about me. Don't talk about me when I go there.
She's in the nursery.
But she is awesome. But she is really, really awesome at keeping people accountable in a kind way and holding people to a high standard. and that has helped me a ton because she is small but mighty. With my wife, no one messes with my wife in a positive way, but she's very direct, but also she does it in a very kind way. And I see her interact with people at her workplace or even at the home and things like that, and she just does an amazing job with that. And I see that people still like her and respect her and will follow her and rally around her, and I'm like, oh, that's possible. Versus, okay, if I have to say something to somebody, I'm going to compliment them 4 times, and then maybe this and that, and where she's just like, no, this is what you need to do. This will make you better. Go ahead and do it. I'm like, man, you're good at that. I need to get a little more of that. So
that's great.
It's definitely been helpful.
Yep.
I would say for my wife, I would think so 2 things. Number one, she's my cheerleader. There is plenty of critique in my role, pretty much all day long at times. But she is a cheerleader. She actually believes that I can do my job most days. And the other thing too is that we are a good balance for each other. As far as I am detail oriented to a fault, and sometimes I can get lost in the details of things. And so when I'm working on different things, she is not detail oriented, and so she's just like, just move forward, just go. You can't have plan A through A through F. Just have plan A and move on with it, right? So she does a really good job of kind of balancing that out.
That's great. Well, let's give them a round of applause. Their organizations are super blessed to have them be a part of those workplaces, and we are so grateful to have you guys here. So let me pray. Lord Jesus, thank you so much for these men. Thank you for the things that you are doing in them and through them. We ask that you would continue to be their strength when they are weak, that they would continue to find your grace sufficient for whatever scenarios they run into as they're leading. Help them to continue to do their job at a very high level. Whether Ryan does stuff at a high level, he does it with excellence, and I know Dave does as well. Help them to continue doing that. We also ask that you would strengthen their marriages, that you would allow them to have the right cadence and rhythm so that they are not giving everything to their vocation and having little left over for their family. So help them to navigate that. And we look forward to all of the people, especially when we're standing in heaven, that have been impacted by Dave and Ryan because of your work through them. We love them. We love you. It's in your name we pray. Amen.